Hi, this is Jake with Priority Pumping Services. Today we are going to go over a biomicrobics treatment system with a pump tank chlorination system and drip emitter field. We are in sunny Cave Creek, Arizona, and we're going to look at servicing a biomicrobics system with aerator, pump system, chlorine system, as well as a drip emitter field for the disposal field. We're going to start off here. When we first get here to service, we're going to notice a couple of things. We have a yellow light and a red light. The yellow light is to let us know if the aerator stops blowing air through it. And then the red light here tells us if the pump out in the pump tank has failed. Inside the control panel, you have your circuit breakers, you have your timer, kind of like your pool pump timer, and then you have the on-off switch in manual mode on this panel. Right below this control panel, we have the aeration system or the agitator system. So the first thing that I want to do is open this up, listen for it to be running. This should be running on a regular basis. This is an air filter. Only air runs through this system to blow air into the treatment tank down there. That helps the treatment of the septage. What we want to do first is open this up, unscrew the wing nut, pull the air filter out, tap it out or hose it off. If we hose it off, we need to set it out to dry. Then we come back up here to the control panel and we want to turn the system to the off position, which is in the middle. Once we turn that system to the off position, we will come down here to the system out here, and that aerator would shut off. Everything would shut off for this system here. And one of the first things that we want to do is there's a box out here that has the control pressure dosing system. There's a filter in here. With the system off, and we have to verify that it is off, we want to unscrew this, pull off the housing. There's a filter in that we want to pull out. We want to hose that off, make sure that's clean, put it back in here, reassemble this. Then at that time, we can go back to the control panel, back up there, and we can turn the pump back on. And at that time, we would open up this valve, which is making this in line straight with the pipe here and letting it back flush, which it will allow it to run through the lines back through the system. And we allow it to do that until we get back to the sludge tank here. And in the sludge tank, it would make this water essentially fairly clean. While we're here at the sludge tank as well, we can pull out our scum filter, our fluent filter, make sure that that is cleaned off, and in which case this one's fairly clean. We reinstall that, allow the system to back flush until this sludge tank is clean. To give you guys an idea of the way that this system is set up, the sewage comes out of the house and it comes into this side of the tank first. This is the larger compartment of the tank. And then it comes through into the second compartment, which is the effluent compartment. And then the sludge fluid comes up through the filter and then comes out of the filter. This part of the system for this system is the treatment tank. And this comes out of the sludge tank, goes into the treatment tank and through here. And then there's a treatment media filter in here that when we service it, we don't really need to worry about this stuff other than doing an inspection to make sure the media filter is not damaged. But we shouldn't have to do any major things with the servicing of the actual treatment tank. Then, after it leaves the treatment tank through the media filter and cleans the effluent even more, it comes and loops around through here and into this inspection port here. this inspection port has another filter. I'm sorry, not a filter. It has another pull tab that we get. This is where the chlorine tablets go. Now, we only want to put 3, maybe 4 at most tablets, chlorine tablets that have to be septic certified into this chlorine capsule here. Otherwise, they get caked up and they won't drop down. So we only want to put 3 or 4 tabs in there and make sure that that is consistently revived every 3 to 6 months, depending on the use of the home. Then, once the water goes through the chlorine tabs underneath here, it comes into the tank, into the pump tank into here. Now you can see that the water's already coming through here. And I want to note that that chlorine tablet holder is empty. So those do need to be replenished at this time as well. But after it goes through that part, that comes into the pump tank, flows into the second compartment over to here. Once the water level gets up high enough, you can see those green floats down there. There's a float floating on the bottom, and that one controls the pump. Once that gets up to a certain level, the pump turns on, and the pump is that skinny thing right there. And it turns that pump on, and it allows the liquid, the effluent, to come up this pipe, out that, and then it goes out around there to the disposal field that is out in that nice grassy area. If either of these if these floats fail, then we should probably get a red light at the box that we were looking at earlier, and troubleshoot to find out what that problem is with that. Sometimes floats get faulty. Sometimes the pump runs out. Either way, that red light is the first indicator if something is wrong out in this area. So at that time, we will in just a minute, we'll talk about the disposal field area with the drip emitters. All right, now we're back out at the disposal field area. They do have drip emitters out here, and we're back at this box where the water flows through to the drip emitters. We're back at that filter housing that filters further before it goes out there. We want to make sure after we turn the system back on that we twist this, make sure that this valve is turned back on, and we want to make sure that this dial is between 20 and 30 psi when we turn it back on. So we kind of have to manipulate this and watch this as the pump is on to make sure that it is at 20 to 30 psi before we box that back up. Make sure the lid goes back on nice and tight. Now out here in the disposal field area, it is overgrown out here, but for this disposal field, there are, I believe, 3 inspection ports. And all that we're looking for out here is making sure that there's no surfacing. You can see that there's actually rocks in there, but those rocks are helping cover the drip emitters so that they don't get plugged up with debris and dirt and silt. And they're similar to like what you would have for a landscape area. Now this system, the drip emitters, do a series, and they're in about 3 rows. The first row comes out underneath here, loops back around here, and then there's another inspection port over right here, you can see, for that row. Then it loops back around, back out there, and loops back into here. And then there's another inspection port over here for this one that we would check as well. That's your drip emitter disposal field. Again, we are looking for surfaced water. When these systems are new, we may see some surfaced liquid, but that's until the soils get used to and settle with the drip emitters. You can see the other inspection ports in the weeds here. And that is your biomicrobics system when it comes to a drip emitter disposal field. And that is what we're looking at when we're servicing it. For timing wise, we're looking probably at about a 6-month or annual service, depending on the usage. pumping the system every 3 years is recommended. 2 to 3 years is recommended, but getting the chlorine tablets and checking all the other vitals of the system are recommended every 3 to 6 months, depending again on the usage. Obviously, the system that we're at right now, the chlorine tablets are gone, and so we would need to service those and replace those and make sure our filters are all cleaned out at the same time. Thank you. One last thing before we button up this biomicrobic system, we want to make sure that everything is screwed down. Dustin's down there making sure that all the hatches are locked tight. It is recommended that we bring some a bead of sealant just in case the gaskets or sealant underneath those lids comes loose or tears away, so that we can reduce the odors that come off of the system. Some of the failures for odors are those seals underneath those lids, as well as those chlorine tabs not being replenished, which will make the disposal stink. So after we button all those up, verify the seals are all good, we're coming back here to this box, and we have to make sure that our circuit breakers are all back on. Our timer is still set for the times that it is pre-programmed for. You can see with this timer, it is set to be on for 2 minutes. I'm sorry, off for 2 minutes and on for 4 minutes, according to that deal there. And we want to make sure that this switch is back into auto mode so that the system runs normally. On the control panel, you can also see that it has, if we have to have an electrician out here, it has a color-coded system for all the wiring in here. And if we're checking the amperage, if hypothetically this system had a UV light system, we could check the amperage of the main wire here and clip our amp reader around that black casing there and make sure that that is amping at 2.1 amps, which is what the standard for UV lights is if we had a UV light system on this one. Our system here today does not have UV, it has the chlorination system.